The main event of this journey through hysteria, the horribleness and awfulness will never be forgotten. We're going to try to concentrate on this and hit all the high points. But the main event on Chris Jericho's 30th anniversary, after Lance Storm and Kevin Smith, and who is Eli Roth?
He's a filmmaker. He was also in Inglourious Bastards. He was one of the bastards.
Gabriel Iglesias, Chavo Guerrero, Steel Panther, who apparently are a metal cover band or something, Ultimo Dragon, and Paul Stanley all sent happy wishes to Jericho. And the main event on the television program celebrating Chris Jericho's 30th anniversary in wrestling, a man who was the WWF Unified Champion, a man who's internationally headlined, a man who's done a lot of things. He and old Jake, don't call me Sammy Hagar, had a tag team match with the team of Chaos Project, Serpentico and Uncle Fester. I'm sorry, Luther. Actually, Uncle Fester sounds like a bigger main event name than Luther. Chris Jericho's friend from 30 years ago from Canada, an outlaw mud show Japanese indie guy who hasn't even wrestled to my knowledge in the past 20 or 25 years, has been signed to AEW, and this fat, bald-headed, pale, fishy white, flabby, 50-plus-year-old fuckwit is in the main event, standing next to a kid that might be 125 pounds, makes Brian Hildebrand, Dr. Mark Curtis himself, look like Lex Luger as his partner. He's wearing pajamas, and he's playing a luchador. And by the way, old Serpentico hits the ropes just like Pockets does. Remember, we talked about that a week or two ago? I've never seen it. Now that I've seen this, I can't take my eyes off of it. He hits the fucking ropes completely flat of his back with his right arm over the top, and with his left hand, he grabs the middle rope. Every time, it's on purpose. It's not just an accident. I watched Pockets. He does it. I watched Serpentico. He does it too. That's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Where are these people learning this shit? So anyway, this fucking bell rings for the main event on TNT cable. With this Jericho and Hager, the top heels in the company, supposedly against these fucking guys. And I wrote, you have got to be shrooming. Jericho was in the whole first fucking segment. Hager never got in. He took bumps for the midget over and over. Then he tagged in Fester. They did some sloppy fighting and a botched spot. I wrote, in what world should these two fucking idiots be on television? I'm talking about Fester and Serpico or Satanico or whatever his fucking name is. I know they're old friends. I like John Fell in Baltimore, but I wouldn't book him to wrestle 10 minutes on national cable. Maybe Jeremy Bagley, he'd probably kick the shit out of half the guys in AEW. He's jacked up.
What about Charlie in Starkville, Mississippi?
I haven't seen him in action, but I don't know if he fucking is even available. He might not have time to come and do this. Point is, I got a lot of friends. I wouldn't book them to fucking wrestle in main events on national TV. And excrement, at one point, when Luther was in there, said this is a quote, I wrote it down. During Luther's time in Japan, he would stand toe-to-toe with the late, great Hayabusa. That's like me saying, during my time in Connecticut, I would often get my hair cut by Stewie Cavendish. What the fuck? Nobody knows who Hayabusa is or was. And that's not even to disrespect him, but he was an independent outlaw guy in Japan. It's not like during Luther's time in Japan, he'd stand toe-to-toe with the great Antonio Inoki. No. Fucking Hayabusa? All these fucking idiots know the only frame of reference they have is their own little independent outlaw mud show world. Then they went through another break. When they came back, the jobbers were still kicking Jericho's ass. Hager's nowhere to be seen. But then finally, Jericho takes a bump to the floor. Hager gets knocked off the apron of the floor. They both, on opposite sides of the ring, walk around the ring to join each other, put their arms around each other, looked up in the ring, and waited while Uncle Fester backdropped his midget over the top rope onto both of them. See Holland, Ridge. Chris Jericho and Sammy Hagar are out there risking blown knees and broken ankles and injuries to have a rotten match with two fucking schlub outlaw fucks. Serpentico looks like an athlete. He'd be a great flyweight or featherweight boxer at the 128-pound fucking category. But he doesn't need to be a professional wrestler. And Fester, did I mention, is a joke. This looked worse than Make-A-Wish. Chris Jericho's old friend gets a job, gets signed despite not having done that line of work in over 20 years, and then for the first time ever gets to main event a match on national TV against his friend. All Friends Wrestling. They're risking injuries to do spots with these fucking morons. They're risking Tony, and Tony Khan will pay them if they get hurt. You know he will. So they don't care, except for the fact of being hurt. I wouldn't want that, but what the fuck? Then the entire group, everybody, baby faces, heels, all the ringside underlings, stood there, and Fester climbed up to the top rope and didn't dive off of it. He just fell in a rolling way, and they all caught him and fell down. It's so sad. So I wrote, this is so sad. Then Fester gets Jericho back in the ring and gives him some kind of goddamn move that I don't know what the fuck it was supposed to be. And Jericho is trying to sell over to the ropes to get in position for the next move they're going to do. Fester realizes he's on the wrong side of the ring apron. He's got to go on the other side of the apron, on the other side of the post. So he walks down to the post, and like guys do, you grab the post with your right hand, you swing your left leg around, you grab the post with your left hand, and then you swing your right leg around, and you're back on the other side of the apron. He put his left foot around the ring post and fucking fell off the goddamn ring to the floor. And then jumped back up and almost killed Jericho with whatever move they'd been trying to set up because he was fucking rattled. Did you see that?
Yep.
Travis's thumbnail for this match should be a still photo of the actual match. It can't be parodied or caricatured any farther than it already was. So Jericho, taking move after move from the aforementioned fat, bald, pale, 50-plus-year-old fucking former mud show fuck who apparently has been working as a truck driver. I don't fucking know. By this point, who was so gassed up that he could barely stand up, and he was trying to walk the top rope. Fester was sucking so much wind, the first 3 rows had passed out from oxygen deprivation. You could see it on his face. If he hadn't already been as pale as the underside of a fucking big mouth bass, he would have turned white. He was translucent by this point. I've never seen somebody so blown up they couldn't do an eye rake. He couldn't rake the fucking eyes. He just kind of put his palm up there and just washed it over fucking Jericho's face. Then he got Jericho's bat that was tossed in. He intercepted it, and Fester gave Jericho a weak gut shot. By the way, if you're noticing that I'm not talking about Jericho doing anything, there's a reason for that. He didn't do anything. Fester hits Jericho with a weak gut shot, and then, did you see, Brian, he hits the ropes and tries a big boot, and he got Jericho in the lower abdomen on the big boot. Jericho took a bump anyway. Luther went for the cover on his hands and knees and looked for all the world like he was down ready to puke on Chris Jericho. And finally, after what seemed like forever, Jericho hits the Judas effect, and Fester crumples sloppily 1, 2, 3. Is this a professional organization, or is this, hey kids, let's put on a show? Embarrassing. And then Jericho, the company's top heel that just got killed by a midget and a fat man, and won by the skin of his teeth, accepted all the cheers and accolades and allocades and applaudings of the fans there, and thanked everyone like a real baby face should. And then MJF comes out with Wardlow and a clown under a red sheet. I'm not talking about an idiot under a red sheet. I'm talking about an actual clown with clown feet, clown wig, and clown red nose, which the clown lost when Wardlow pulled the sheet off. And the nose went tumbling into the fucking ring. And he gave Jericho a gift, and it was a framed 24 by 36-inch portrait of MJF, which Jericho then broke over the clown's head. The clown, who was somewhere around 5'2" and 100 pounds, not only didn't sell, but didn't register the portrait being bashed over its head. He just stood there and looked at Jericho, who then hit the clown with the stiffest fucking Judas effect that I've ever seen and knocked the clown out. And then he and MJF, instead of getting mad at each other, laughed and hugged each other. And all the heels on the roster came out to celebrate with Chris Jericho while the credits on the show rolled and his name was on every credit, including him being all 8 camera positions. It was like the closing of a Saturday Night Live sketch or a show where they ended a little bit early and all the cast members and guest stars had to mill around while the credits on the stage while the credits were playing and the fucking band was playing something. And they just awkwardly didn't know what to fucking do. This was the most rotten match. This was the most rotten show. This was the most amateurish effort on everybody's part. I honestly believe if I was a part of this company and appeared in any way on this program, I would have gotten a sick stomach afterwards and potentially thought about changing my line of work. It's not only embarrassing, it's shameful. Nobody has to have a show this bad. It's not necessary. Anybody could do better than this, and have many times in the past. Not just an expert veteran like me. I've seen people book shows that had never booked shows before that were not as insulting and amateurish as this. Have I made myself clear?
Abundantly clear, yes.
What were your final thoughts on this masturbatory self-congratulation that Chris Jericho thought it would be a great idea to show his 30 years in the business by getting beat up by Jackie Coogan?
I thought it was an excellent match. I thought it was wonderful to finally see Jericho and Luther after all these years get in there. I thought that Serpentico showed a world of talent. I think Hager each and every week is better and better. I thought the commentators did an excellent job of explaining what was happening here. I thought the segment with the clown couldn't have gone any better.
The clown is down.
It couldn't have gone any better. I think the build-up for this MJF Jericho feud just leaves everyone with wet panties.
The heels are mad at each other. Since the baby faces are mad at each other, the heels got to be mad at each other, too. Give them something to do.
I'm a big fan of comedy. I love, classic Saturday Night Live and SCTV. So the credits, what a brilliant move to end this amazing episode of Dynamite, having Jericho all over those credits. 7 stars, 8 stars, 8 stars. All kidding aside, this was awful. And it just embodies a general awfulness that seeps into everything on AEW. They can never leave well enough alone. Even when it's something like the Cody match, Pockets has to come right out. Even when they have the best tag team in wrestling, they have to dumb them down by having them involved with dummies. As a booker, Tony Khan is a failed director of football for Fulham. I mean, this is just such a bad show. And I know there's a lot of people that like it. There's a lot of people that have low standards.
What are they looking at?
There are people that have low standards. There are people that have low standards.
What makes sense to them? What is good about the athleticism of these outlaw guys?
No, that's not it.
What makes sense? Who's putting on a good performance on the microphone? What is in any way interesting about this fucking horseshit?
Let's say you were born in 2000, Jim.
Oh, good Lord.
But let's just say you were born in 2000 and you became a wrestling fan, I want to say 10 years old, 2010. So from 2010 to 2019 when AEW got on TV, all you've seen is whatever's out there. Raw, SmackDown, Impact, I guess the revived ECW.
But you know what?
Already.
No, at least anybody that's on WWE television, pretty much 99% of them look like athletes of some description. Even though every once in a while, one of them sneaks in on NXT that's emaciated.
But how many flips do they do? But how many near falls do they have?
Too many, but they still look like athletes.
Is their comedy written by writers or are they singer-songwriters?
Hopefully there wouldn't be any comedy amongst the wrestling matches. That would be the managers and the fucking frivolous people around ringside.
It's just, it's a bad show. And there are people
You're trying to tell me that the only reason people watch AEW is because the rest of shit for the last 10 years has sucked so bad. But I
don't think it's the only reason, but I think that's a big reason.
I have not seen the WWE. I've seen the WWE put on plenty of bad shows lately. Crummy shows, insulting shit like being thrown off the roof of the Titan Tower and whatever. But just on a constant barrage of embarrassment and half-price talent and discount fucking wrestlers and midgets and freaks and people that have no business being exposed to a national television audience. They don't do that in the WWE. They do it every week on AEW, and there's no reason for it except that the guy in charge doesn't know the fucking difference, and the people he's listening to all want to give their fucking friends jobs. And we come down to that again.
AEW presents silly, stupid shit, but treats the audience like they're in on the joke. WWE presents silly, stupid shit, but pretends like they're fooling the audience. That's part of the difference.
Okay, here's an idea. How about one of them just don't do silly, stupid shit? And then see what the audience thinks.
Hey, that was the promise of AEW early on. And I mean, I know we always bring that up and we shouldn't anymore because obviously that was just a bunch of
caca
talk. Yeah, I mean, it was
Ring of Honor is doing it. It's a shame that we had to wait for Ring of Honor to do what AEW promised a year ago, but they don't even have to go all the way that Ring of Honor has gone to doing a really legitimate program. They just get better talent. There's plenty available. Admit you've made a mistake and you got bad advice and you signed a bunch of people that weren't ready for television. Pay them off and send them home. Tell them if they want to go to wrestling school, take a look at them later on. You don't wish that they drop over and die, just that they're not good enough to be on your program right now. You got not unlimited money. Nobody has unlimited money, but you have plenty of money, more than the rest of the field, to compete to get any talent that you want to get. Get some new talent. Get somebody to write the show that knows what they're fucking doing instead of doing this because they used to jack off in their fucking room at night, writing cards down. I wrote cards down in my room, but I wasn't jacking off at the same time. I had different material to peruse while I did that. Get people that know what they're doing and talent that can perform it, and then put on a program that is suitable and not embarrassing to the wrestling business and is suitable for a national cable network. And then you might get more than 850 or 900,000 fucking people watching, because that's goddamn embarrassing. It's goddamn embarrassing that we've got to the point where the highest rated wrestling program in the world gets less than 2 million people. And these two on Wednesday nights are fighting over 750,000. It's fucking embarrassing.
Would you like the ratings?
Sure, go ahead.
Now, let me remind you, the vice presidential debate was last night. I believe it did in excess of 50 million viewers.
Well, you and I were watching that, the important stuff.
Yeah, no, I DVR'd both of these shows and watched them in the morning to ruin my morning. Here are the ratings. NXT, 639,000. AEW, 753,000.
There you go. It's the same fucking thing. When they've got competition, they each lose 100,000. When they don't have any competition, they each gain 150,000. And it is what it is. Because the only people that are going to watch shit that looks like this are people that, for whatever reason, like shit that looks like this. I believe we have made this abundantly clear, and I've got to go wash my mouth out to take the taste of that fester match, festering in my gums, out of it. So do you have any final words for the audience?
It's a sad state of American wrestling right now. You have one promotion, which is an old man who took over his dad's promotion, took over his dad's territory, and the other promotion is a kid whose father bought him a territory.
Isn't it ironic?